Let's just jump right into it. If you think the history of the pyramids is, settled science, well, the highly classified forensic audit we're looking at in today's explainer is going to absolutely flip that narrative on its head. We're diving into source material that exposes what the intelligence community has truly been hunting for beneath the Giza Plateau. And spoiler alert, it suggests the greatest archaeological discoveries are being treated not as ancient history, but as highly classified physics. Now, you've probably seen it, that viral July 1950 CIA document floating around online, the one claiming a hidden temple sits right underneath the Sphinx, right? It sounds like the ultimate smoking gun. But according to our source material, you were actually looking at a deliberate decoy. The text argues the CIA didn't actually find a temple in 1950. No, they were laying a trap. The text asserts this 1950 memo was literally just a smokescreen. The idea is that by archiving old Edgar Cayce rumors, the agency was deliberately distracting the public from their real, highly sophisticated and heavily funded operations happening right under our noses. Basically, those rumors were just meant to kind of burn away, hiding the high-tech reality buried beneath. So why would they do this? Well, the source introduces a concept called the Limited Hangout. This is a documented intelligence tactic actually defined by a former CIA executive named Victor Marchetti. And the strategy is super simple. When a secret is just way too big to keep entirely, you admit a tiny fraction of the truth to satisfy public curiosity. And that, in turn, completely hides the key damaging reality. The text makes the case that the 1950 memo was a classic limited hangout, deployed to keep people distracted by dusty rumors rather than looking for the actual smoking gun. Okay, let's zoom out and look at how this builds into a much larger pattern of covert, physics-based intelligence gathering spanning decades. 1950, that was just the setup. The source material actually points to 1973 and 1974 as the exact moment the real operation kicked off, which eventually culminated in some highly classified remote viewing sessions in 1984. Make no mistake, this was never an archaeological dig. So who was actually sent to Giza? Well, the forensic audit claims the real operation took place 24 years after that initial memo, when Dr. Lambert Dolphin and Dr. Hal Puthoff from the Stanford Research Institute, or SRI, were sent to Egypt. And here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. The source points out that this was the exact same team running the CIA's highly classified Stargate program. They weren't Egyptologists out there with little brushes and trowels, they were advanced physicists. And a source details that these SRI physicists arrived with some serious hardware. We are talking military-grade ground-penetrating radar, high-frequency acoustic echo sounding, advanced telemetry, the whole shebang. They ran these incredibly deep-penetrating scans across the entire plateau using literally the most sophisticated sensing equipment available to the defense sector at the time. And guess what? This radar operation wasn't a failure, not even close. According to the documents audited in the text, this equipment mathematically proved the existence of massive, geometrically perfect cavities located exactly 30 feet beneath the Sphinx's paws. And we're not talking about natural caves here. We're talking about perfectly engineered, highly symmetrical subterranean vaults. So what exactly are these cavities for? The author presents what they call the Gnostic Indictment. They argue that the entire Giza Plateau is absolutely not a graveyard, but rather a multi-stage solid-state acoustic resonance machine. Yeah, a machine. The source claims it was built utilizing zero-point and piezoelectric physics, which are concepts, frankly, we are only just beginning to grasp today. This leaves us with just a staggering contrast. On one hand, you have the orthodox narrative asking us to believe these massive megaliths were built with, primitive copper chisels and pounding stones. But on the other hand, the forensic argument asserts these structures actually functioned as coupled acoustic hydraulic power plants engineered with ultrasonic machining. As the source argues, you literally cannot cut quartz-rich granite with a copper chisel. It's a mathematical and metallurgical impossibility. No way around it. Okay, to understand how a stone machine actually works, the source points to a very real scientific principle, the piezoelectric effect. Basically, this is a physical property where mechanical stress, like really intense sound vibration, applied to quartz crystal generates a massive electrical voltage. The text points out that the Aswan red granite used in the King's Chamber contains over 55% piezoelectric quartz crystal. That essentially turns the pyramid's chambers into a massive electrical transducer. The text breaks down the power plant's mechanics into these precise steps. First, it harnesses natural telluric resonance. That's the deep, low-frequency acoustic hum of the Earth itself. Second, This vibration causes a massive piezoelectric conversion inside the quartz-heavy King's chamber, creating this intense electrical charge. And third, this energy interacts with a chemical synthesis of pure hydrogen gas. Let's look a bit closer at how this is tuned. The source actually goes as far as to provide the math for this, describing the King's chamber as a space mathematically dimensioned to act as a Helmholtz resonator. Think of it kind of like blowing over the top of a glass bottle. The chamber was specifically designed to capture and amplify low-frequency acoustic vibrations, which violently shakes the quartz within the granite to generate a massive, continuous electrical charge. Now, building on that electrical charge, the source argues the Queen's chamber operated as a chemical processing plant. The idea is that dilute hydrochloric acid and hydrated zinc were pumped down the so-called air shafts. When they met, boom, they synthesized pure, volatile hydrogen gas. The evidence for this? Well, the source points to heavy chemical staining and structural copper fittings, which were actually famously verified by the robotic rover that explored those sealed shafts back in 2002. So what is the final output of all this electricity and hydrogen? Well, the text asserts that ambient microwave energy from space funneled into the chamber struck this electrically charged hydrogen gas and caused stimulated emission. What does that mean in plain English? The source argues the Great Pyramid functioned as a massive, solid-state maser, ultimately releasing a highly focused beam of microwave energy. I know if this sounds like straight-up science fiction, the text points out something crazy. The CIA actually independently verified these exact generator mechanics during a highly classified 1984 Stargate remote viewing session. Tasked with viewing ancient megaliths, an operative who was completely blind to the target described seeing a massive generator with intersecting water channels. The source argues the intelligence community knows the pyramids are generators for a simple reason: they've seen the blueprints. And that leads us directly to the motive. Why keep this a secret? The source argues that the Giza site is aggressively quarantined by authorities not to protect old tombs, but to actively keep civilians from uncovering this pre-cataclysmic technology. They are allegedly hiding the fact that an ancient civilization completely mastered zero-point and solid-state acoustic physics 10,000 years ago. According to the document, acknowledging this reality would completely dismantle today's global power structures. The text refers to this suppression as the Archonic cover-up. Unveiling this ancient technology would instantly collapse the highly profitable fossil fuel paradigm and the modern aerospace monopoly. In fact, the source claims that government agencies are actively patenting this exact ancient technology for themselves today, even citing a NASA patent for ultrasonic machining. So they're literally reverse engineering these silent stone machines. We'll leave you with this final provocative question to consider based on today's explainer. If the source material is right and the blueprints for solid-state, clean, zero-point energy have been sitting in the Egyptian desert all along, what happens to the global aerospace and energy monopolies if this physics is finally declassified? It's a massive question, and one that challenges everything we know about our past, and for sure our technological future.